Thank you.
Do you answer is no? And actually I'm a doer, so I went to Tallahassee to be able to tell them that I was totally against it. Actually, I went to all the activity directors from all the high schools seeking for volunteers, and at the fair, during the youth fair, which is actually the time of legislation, I put 3 computers, and we were actually asking the parents to be able to stop by and send letters to Tallahassee to tell them how disappointed we were about it. Because the reality is that you, the voters, need to be able to stand so we can start stopping the actions of our legislators. I'm not a politician, I'm a doer, and I'm going to continue to start looking for the best ways to be able to avoid that this happens ever again. Our teachers are like the parents of our children. Sometimes they spend more time with our children than actually we do with them. We must protect them. We need to be able to bring respect to the teaching profession. We need to be able to start actually when, school starts and we bring career day, we need to be able to start asking the teachers to step up and start saying, hey, would you like to be a teacher? We need to be able to start bringing career day back as a teachers, because who's going to be able to be the next teacher of our children? When all we talk is about the negativism, so negative about our own children. Now, in business they say that when you don't measure, you don't advance. And that's the reality. And I will tell you one more important thing. I don't want to be able to have one of your child or my granddaughter being in a classroom with a teacher for 10 months that she's not going to learn. So I need to be able to make sure that there is a beginning test and an ending test to be able to know that the children have had a progress. Now, like anything else in statistics, you need to be able to make sure that you only measure the kids that they start and end with that teacher. You need to make sure, let me just finish this concept. You need to be able to make sure that actually you identify the socioeconomic problems, you identify either EAC, you identify all the different categories of children that are in that classroom, so at the time that you're measuring that teacher, you're fair with the rest of the population. Thank you.
No, statistics was horrible. It ignored all of the teachers. They didn't even care about the teachers. Accountability is very important because everybody has had bad teachers, but they're normally very good. And actually solutions, I've been spending a lot of time in the schools and talking to principals. I have seen how the PTA with the school has brought up solutions for this teacher accountability. And they are the ones that give the extra money to the teachers. So that's how they're doing it, and that's how we should be doing it. It's from the bottom up. We cannot impose. Development does not work imposed from the top up. It has to be a ground force. It has to begin from the bottom up. And the way that we do that is giving more autonomy to the principals of the schools, to the teachers, so they know, because they're the ones that live on the village. So they're the ones that actually know how to handle and move the village. So when the state brings money for one teacher, I am sure that the principal, according to the school and the needs that they have, could do much better than what's imposed from the top down.
More questions we need to ask. Yes. Good question.
And what is your plan to pass it? We have the President of the United States that have 2-term limits. We have everybody that has 2-term limits. We even have a 30-day term limit to pay off a credit card. I'd like to know how many of you believe in term limits, and if you do, when do you plan on putting it in your agenda?
Everybody hear this? Do you support school board term limits? Yes. How would you get it?
This is what I think. I think that if the person is doing a good job, they should continue to stay there. But that's up to the voters. If the voters are educated and they keep up with what's going on, then they can go ahead and say that. However, all good things must come to an end. And sometimes they have to say goodbye, because what happens is that when you're in power for so long, you have too many people who have been scratching your back. And like I said at the beginning, I'm not into back scratching. say thank you very much for all the hard work you've done, and now the time has come to say goodbye. So, what my limit would be, I would say that we shouldn't have what we have right now, where somebody finally is retiring, and they've done a lot of something to the system, and so I think that the best thing to do is when we see that they're not doing a good job, then we need to vote them out. But if somehow they're able to continue to stay in, then I think 6 years is really good. That's what I think. 6 years. That's my number.
I'll tell you, I mean, the popular answer is obviously to say, of course, we're in favor of all term limits, but it is a difficult question because there are some public servants, Dr. Paris, for example, who has been on the board for a long time, but she does a good job, and her constituents want her there. So I think we can come up with a good compromise on this issue. Why don't we allow the voters to have a referendum and decide if they want term limits for school board members or not? If they do, we'll have term limits, and if they don't, we'll leave it the way it is. I would initiate any public referendum. I think that whenever there's an issue that is complicated, we should take it straight to the voters. We should have done it with a baseball stadium. We should have done it with a lot of these big decisions that were made.
I also think that term limits can be beneficial because after a person has been in a position for a very long time, I think that sometimes it's good to have new ideas. It's good to bring new alliances. And I would welcome term limits. I think 2 full terms is a fair and equitable amount to serve. But I do agree with Mr. Corbello on this one. The public should definitely have a say. And if the public feels that term limits are also for board members, I would welcome that as well.
Let's make it simple and not too long. Yes to term limits, and I don't have a problem to do it through a referendum. Thank you.
Yes to term limits is necessary. We have to, out with the old and in with the new. It's necessary. People, when you become a politician, and this was told to me by Marco Rubio, actually, I was one of his students. Marco Rubio said that once you're a politician, then you lose touch with the citizens and what's going on, him saying it. But it's true, all politicians do lose touch with what's going on and the realities of the situations and the severity of the situations because they're in a different situation and a different position. So term limits are very necessary.